Hey everybody, I'm Laura DiCarlo of Career Directors International. If you're starting, currently thinking about starting, or actively building a resume writing or career coaching business, I'm so glad you've joined us today. In this show, we share tools, strategy, and mindset tips that lead to your ultimate success without the stress. My guest today is Mary Elizabeth Bradford of CEOResumeWriter.com. Hi, Mary Elizabeth. You'll all be getting a chance to know Mary Elizabeth here shortly. We are currently streaming on CDI's Facebook page, YouTube channel, and LinkedIn page. But hey, the platforms can be funny, so I'm not going to have you jump through any hoops to tell me, to agree to be seen, whatnot. So please, when you comment, at least for the first time, include your name. That way we will know who we're having a conversation with. And if you don't know me yet, my goal is to become your not-so-secret superpower. At Career Directors International, we provide everything you need to love and excel at what you do so you can make a difference while earning an exceptional living as a career industry professional. Okay, so let me do my corny thing here that I do every week and put up my little caption. We've got Startup and Growth Secrets for Resume Writers and Career Coaches with special guest Mary Elizabeth Bradford of CEOResumeWriter.com. But still, got a few things to say before we get started. You know, I like to tease everybody. I have known Mary Elizabeth since 2003, and she's been an expert presenter at CDI conferences, and she's put together live webinars for our members. She was also one of my first private clients. She has a lot of great success stories and tips to share. Mary Elizabeth, I know they're all eager to hear them, but I'm going to get you just one more moment while I ask you to do three things. Please, first of all, let us know who you are in the chat. Give us your name, say hello. If you have any questions, this is an amazing opportunity to ask them of Mary Elizabeth and I. And third, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever channel you're on so that you don't miss out when we go live every Wednesday at 3:45. All right. So now the focus is on our wonderful guest, Mary Elizabeth.
Thank you, Laura.
I know, she's like, all the adoration. I can't take it.
It was great to be here. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it sure has. My goodness. I was looking back and time flies, right? I mean, we both look good, so there's that.
I put a special filter on my camera.
Yeah.
Don't look too close.
No. All right. I don't see anything in the chat yet. If anybody would like to say hello to Mary Elizabeth or me, please do so and include your name. But let me tell you a little bit about Mary Elizabeth Bradford. She is a multi-certified and multi-award-winning executive resume writer and past executive recruiter. She is the founder of CEOResumeWriter.com, the premier online source for expertly designed executive resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and executive biographies for C-suite and board-level executives worldwide. And as I already shared, she was one of my very first private consulting and coaching clients, and one who I'm very proud to say experienced almost immediate and dramatic growth. From what I know of her success and the role I got to play in it when we worked together one-to-one over the years, she is being incredibly modest when she says her claim to fame is that she has built a values-led company that has stood the test of time, with a small team of expert writers and coaches who truly care. She says they are able to help their executive clients all over the world with marketing collateral, as well as with their outreach strategies. It's so great to have you here today, Mary Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me. It feels good. It feels good to be here. And I didn't know that I was one of your first clients.
I looked at the calendar. I went back to see when did you fall in the scheme of things, and it wasn't so much that you were one of my first clients. I guess it was the first year I formally offered the service was when you first signed up with me. So
it's exciting.
You were one of several, but you stand out.
Difference. It really did. Yeah, it was fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let me ask you some questions here so our audience can get to know you.
Okie dokie.
When did you first start your business?
2008.
2008. All
Mhm.
right.
2008 with my baby on my lap.
Oh,
Literally,
wow. Okay.
I had just had my daughter, and I was so grateful to have something where I could work from home. That was a big thing for me. I wanted to be home with my daughter. So she was on my lap when I was working.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's back in the day is one of the only ways you could stay home with your child past a certain amount of time
Yeah.
was to have that rare work from home job or to do something yourself.
Yeah. It
Um,
was before it was cool. Yeah.
yeah, very, very cool. So tell us a little bit more about your business. How, you can tell us a little bit about the evolution, what you offer, um, evolution over the years.
So I was in marketing. I started out in marketing, and I I eventually ran or opened an office in Nashville for an executive recruiter, a really nice man, and had that recruiting business for 7 years. And then 9/11 happened. So I'm dating myself. And my clients were REITs and commercial contractors and architects. So and a little bit in the entertainment industry, but my business really dried up. So I went to work as an outplacement coach for an outplacement firm out of Boston. And I did that for 6 or 7 more years. And that didn't pay very much money, but it afforded me to take clients when I wanted and kind of be mobile. And I needed that at that time. So that was good. And then when I had my when I was pregnant, I remember I had been sort of doing looking into coaching, doing things on my own, business coaching programs. And I remember I was walking on the bike path in this little town where I live, and I was telling my husband, I think I really want to like be a resume writer or a coach and like coach continuity programs, which for those of you that may not know what that is, that's like a group coaching program. And that was before it was really popular like it is now. And he laughed at me. He said, "That is a ridiculous idea." And he always ate those words years later, like, but and so, so I got coaching, and I figured out how to have an online. I didn't want to meet people in person, something online, and first couple years I kind of wrote for some other people while I was trying to get things off the ground. I wasn't making really anything. But I saw, and my continuity program idea fell on its face. That was not working. And I should mention, I think this is important to mention. I think enough time has passed because this is how long we've known each other. So when I was doing that outplacement and I was sort of percolating on this idea was a few years in the making. I decided that I was going to get my certification. And so I breezed through all of your tests. And if you recall, I failed, like fantastically failed with bad comments and everything. And it was devastating because I had been writing resumes and thought I was doing this really great job. And I felt so guilty. Like all the people that I thought I helped, I'm like, I failed my test. Like, what the heck? And so I called you crying. I don't know if you remember this. I remember it was a very big moment for me. And you said, "Don't worry, Mary Elizabeth, we'll get you a mentor and then you can retake the test." So that's what we did. And I retook it and I passed. And then I start like that bothered me that happened. And so I thought, I need more certifications. Clearly, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm not as much of a hot stuff as I thought I was, or not hot stuff, but like capable,
Yeah.
capable of doing a good job. Um, and so I started to get more certifications, and then I submitted for a Tory Award, but before that, I remember I was looking at the Tory resumes. I'm like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And I would take them off the website and dissect them
Right.
and then kind of put them back together and just really kind of nerd out on figuring out like what I've got to figure this out. So I figured it out. And I learned a lot. So I kind of did an immersion technique for, I mean, really off and on for 5 years. I wanted to understand what it was about like the human condition. I mean, it's marketing, but what it was that we were doing or these other great resume writers were doing that was helping clients get success.
Right.
So all that happened, and now, of course, thanks to you, I've been a Tory judge for going on, I think, 5 years now, and but I'm really proud of that. Like when I look back, I go, the things I'm most proud of are all those times I just felt right on my ass and just didn't give up.
Right.
So those first few years, I kind of hobbled along. My continuity program wasn't working, but people were buying resumes. And I thought, oh, I don't want this to be all resumes. But that's what it turned out to be. So I kind of embraced it and learned to love it. And we do, of course, holistically, sort of other things that help clients during the transition too. But that's where 80% of my revenue is coming from. So I started growing it, and then the growing pains came, and I couldn't do all my own bookkeeping anymore. I couldn't do, I couldn't handle soup to nuts, and and I know I needed a system. And I had a system from the beginning. Like I had a website that took credit cards, and I was so grateful I did that. Of course, now it's like obvious, but back then we kind of had a choice, like how we worked that out. But I was just growing too fast, and it was too much work for me. And Anna was little, and I was homeschooling her, and I was managing the house, so I was doing all these things. And and so I started. I knew I had to make a decision. Like, do I hire people, or do I just raise my prices and work as a solo practitioner? And I decided to hire people because the writing process takes so many hours of concentrated effort, and chasing a 3-year-old around, that was going to be hard for me. But I could sell and I could coach. Like I could take a half an hour, I could take an hour. So that's how I made that determination. So I hired, who did I hire first? I guess it would have been my admin, and then a writer, and then a subcontracted another writer and another writer. And I had really good success with that. I think because I really care about our team, and I really wanted to train them in these things that I had learned, even though they were already really good at what they did. We sort of had a playbook that I had developed over these years that I wanted them to adopt so that we could have somewhat of a proprietary formula that we knew certain things really worked. And so I did that, and I'm really happy with, it's not the right words. I'm very grateful, and I'm very proud of the fact that my team has been with me for a long, long time. And as we grew, I would add another one. Like I think for several years there, I was putting ads on the CDI website, and so anyway, I got to the point where I got so busy, I almost quit. I was too stressed, and it was too much. And a couple of my people that I sort of consider trusted advisors said, "Do not quit. Don't quit. Just keep going." And so I moved through that, and now, I work. I would call it, part-time, and I've got this very, very talented, very dedicated small team that's worldwide, that I get to work with, and they really know what they're doing. So I did manage to pass the growing pain and get it to a place where it was smooth and predictable, consistent.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always a relief. Smooth and consistent is what everybody dreams of when they're self-employed. Yeah.
Yeah. And is now a good time to mention the coaching with you, because I can speak to that too, Laura?
Oh, sure. And
Yes.
I know it played a role in.
Oh, it was huge. So basically, one of the best things I did was when I didn't know something, I love to learn. And I love to just immerse myself in things. And so one of the best things I did is I always got business coaches, even from the very beginning. And about 2015, I was, I think, trying to take a financial jump. And so I hired you, and I really didn't have a lot of, like goals or expectations about what was going to happen. I just sort of pitched you, like, here's my situation. And basically, what was happening at that time is we were more generalized and we were serving pretty much, everybody. And you had suggested that I specialize. And I was very scared when you told me that, because the type of clientele, of course, that we work with now is exclusively C-suite, and they're typically mid-cap to very large Fortune 10, Fortune 20 companies, and board directors. And I really didn't have a lot of confidence in myself to say, yeah, I'm that person. And I think everybody feels that way. Even though 80% of my business was coming from that, niche, for some reason that terrified me. But I did what you said, and you suggested I kind of put together packages, which I don't think I had.
Right.
So I completely, like, over that next week, I remember I redid my website, put together packages, did a couple other things that you mentioned, and then rebranded, and we kind of redid the website. We took new photos. I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like. I wanted people that were coming to us with interest to feel very calm, very resort like, and I think that reflects the way I work too. I mean, I don't wear a business suit. I'm not, the most polished, but I'm effective. And so, anyhow, after that happened, that changed everything. So that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my business. That took it to a whole different place. So anybody that is, looking to be a better leadership coach, or get certified in your niche, or find out how to grow your resume business, definitely, definitely, definitely. And I think the expectation to go in with is just, and I'm not saying this was between, I'm not reflecting on what happened with us, Laura, but just to go into it with the perspective of, if I get one or two or three things that could double my revenue, or that could shave off 10 hours a week of work, that your ROI, you've got to keep your focus on the ROI, because it can be huge. I've paid tons for courses and maybe got one or two things, but then when I put those one or two things into play, it took off and took it to a whole new level. So when we invest in ourselves, and also, I think my story about thinking I was this great resume writer and then finding out that I wasn't, is a testament to, like, no man is an island. And sometimes, when we're isolated, we all think we're a lot better than we are, and we need help. In other words, like, we know no one does it alone. We're all working together in some certain capacity, and if you're not, you should be, whether it's conferences. I'm not big on, like, flying all over and traveling, but like I spoke when you were here eons ago. But anything that you can do, whether it's a webinar or an online course, or coaching, like over Zoom or something, super, super big return on investment of yourself and into your business.
Right, right. It's always crazy to me. I mean, I run CDI, but on a regular basis, I think how crazy it is, how little of an investment it is just to be a member.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like less than one client a year. And I was just doing the math. Like, if we charged $20 a piece for every live event that we include, right there, you'd pay more than membership. There's just so much. There's just so much to get you started and change things, because I agree 100% that it is so why challenge yourself to try to go it alone and reinvent the wheel when there are people who are already succeeding where you want to be and how you want to play?
Mhm. And and not every course over the years that I took was like fireworks, but it's the principle of that. And because I don't, I know this isn't a big sales thing. This is your podcast, but um, when we're investing in ourselves and we're keeping our focus on growing, because the idea hopefully should be just be the best you can be at whatever it is that you do. And there's something about the stimulation that our brains get from
Right.
going into something that maybe we're not slightly, we're a little bit uncomfortable or we don't know what to expect. It's really, really good for us working on our own like we do. It's it's almost you almost have to. If I think about what I would have done if I hadn't read books and gotten my certifications, I mean, I wouldn't have a business.
Right.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't have a business. So,
You'd
yeah.
be in a whole different place. Yeah, it's so I've ever since I read the notes you shared with me before our interview today, I have been thinking about the thing I'm always trying to put into words for people about how, because if you look around today, so many people are looking for the shortcut, the overnight success, the do the least to skate through, and they end up struggling. I mean, those things, but the funny thing is, like you just said, you work part-time because you went fast so that you could later go slow.
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean you're not checked out, or I mean, it doesn't mean you're checked out or anything like that. But it's just to me the most interesting thing because a lot of the successful people I interview have the same story in that they went all in. They did the things they needed to do. They didn't give up when it got hard. They asked for help when they didn't know what to do. They got involved. They kept learning. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's not let me just think I know everything and throw myself out there and cross my fingers. When you have a plan and a system, and I'm hearing over and over again, Grant Cooper. Do you remember Grant?
Yeah, I do remember Grant.
He was my guest a couple months ago, and I have embellished on his story since, but the quick version of it was he talked about before he found resume writing and CDI that he would have likened it more to like a fast food drive-through. I know what I'm doing, writing resumes. He's like, and then I get inside to get certified, and I'm like, oh, it's more like a gourmet meal. And I think that's one of the big challenges that people today have trying to go it alone. And I don't mean just job seekers writing themselves. I mean, so many people calling themselves professional resume writers and coaches is that they don't know what they don't know.
Right. And I was in that camp. So I know how that feels. And when that had happened to me, it spooked me. And I thought, never again. I'm not ever going to be caught with my pants down again. It's just not going
Yeah.
to.
It's like a secret society, resume writing for some reason. Yeah. Well, it's because everyone is misled on what's involved in writing a resume almost from birth. It's like you should write your resume yourself. I even recently talked to a former client who I helped be very successful, and he has a new grad son. And I was, explaining to him what they would need to invest and why. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to buy a template off the internet. And I'm like, best of luck to you,
Yeah.
because I would really rather you went to somebody who knew how to market and position a new graduate, than
Right.
make what I consider to be a deadly mistake on how successful you're going to be after you
Hmm.
invest all that time, money, and energy into college, right?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking as you were sharing that every one of my clients can write a decent resume. They're all brilliant, but it's the perspective that we lack. I can't write my own website.
Right.
I have to have help because what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking about it, there's things that I have blind spots, and that's sort of like our clients, and it's it's marketing, and understanding the perception that somebody's getting when they're reading something and how you want it to line out. So, yeah.
Yeah, it works the same with the businesses. It's why I'm so good at what I do, because I can see the things that were like, oh, I should package, or oh, I'm worth more money, or how the how-tos, right?
Mm-hmm.
The things that we might be great writers or coaches, but we weren't necessarily born business people.
Mm-hmm.
What was I gonna? I just lost track of what I was gonna say when I said that. Um, all right, so interesting. My next question is usually, when did you join CDI? And you were actually a member before you had your business, thanks to
So, like,
the company you worked with. 2003 is how.
2003. I was going to say 2005.
Yeah,
2003. Oh my God, Laura.
I
Time
know. I
is
was surprised
fast.
too, but yeah. So, is
That's
there anything you've said a lot? So you might not have anything else to share on it. Because you've talked about certifications and Tories and Tory judging, and is there anything else that CDI has? Any other ways CDI has benefited you? I mean,
everywhere.
if not, I
I
just
mean, I've used so many of the pieces of your services over the years, whether it's, the boards for the internal communication between the members, to I think I've enrolled in a bunch of courses over the years, and participated, volunteered a little bit, and won some different kinds of awards, and that has really, I mean, it's necessary. Now, for me, I had to choose one association to kind of focus on. So I chose yours because I feel, for me personally, that it is the gold standard. And part of that is the recertification process. Even I have to get my stuff renewed, and although I protest,
you know,
do this again. But no, it's really, really good. And the coaching for the business side of it and knowing how to scale, I did not know. It's only my second business. My first business as an executive recruiter, I had only ever hired one other person, so I didn't have a scaling problem. I didn't have growing pains.
right.
So I really needed to have someone check what I was doing and kind of lay out without hiding anything. Here's what it looks like. And when you took a look at it, you saw something completely different than what I saw. I would have never come up with the idea the way that you presented it. And if I had, I probably wouldn't have put it into play because, you know, it was my idea, and maybe I would talk myself out of it or something. But so to me, it's been necessary. Now, if you don't care about growing your business and you've kind of just got a little, side hustle going on, or you write for somebody else, beautiful, just maybe as long as for me personally, I have what I call, like you said, a values led company. So I have a core set of values that I make all my strategic, my governance, all the decisions off of first. And that also goes for my team, how we treat people, what we do, how we fix problems if there's a problem. And I don't deviate from it. And so for me, it was important to be the best that I could possibly be. And of course, we're in a dynamic industry that is also unregulated. So we can never really know, everything there is to know. But that was how I chose to sleep at night. There's certain things I do operationally so I can sleep at night and feel good about how everybody's being treated internally and externally. And not everybody may be like that, but that's just for me. That's how I was raised. That's how I needed to do it.
Right. No, I love it. I love it. that your phone?
My daughter is, I'm going to tell her, hello, I'm being interviewed right now. Could you please stop? It's not her fault. She doesn't know.
Right, okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. Hang on one second.
Mhm. While you're doing that, I'll just say that I was looking over some of the testimonials you wrote from the time we worked together. And I remember how you were qualifying for anyone who read it that you like were able to increase revenue by 30% while decreasing the number of clients by 30%. And how that was a win because it meant you were making more money with less clients so that you could focus more deeply on the clients you had,
Mm-hmm.
while having to balance, you know, less work. And I think that is ideally what we all want, or either that, I mean, someone else might want to use that to be able to serve more clients, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and still make more money. I think that the worst case scenario is having too many clients and they're all saying yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, we grew exponentially year over year after we did our transformation, and it went to places I never would have thought that it could go. Yeah,
I've been excited by your updates over the years for sure.
yeah, and of
Um,
course, yeah, it's been a long time, but I mean, it's. I'm very, very grateful. I'm very grateful to help so many amazing people. I've met some really incredible leaders, and it's
I imagine,
you
yeah.
learned a lot. You learn a lot from working with those high emotional, intelligent people.
Right. Oh, I can imagine. Yes. So you told us about, being able to be home with your child and being able to work part-time. Is there anything else you would say that you want to emphasize that having your own business has made possible for you in your life?
Well, for me, it was a necessity. My dad died when I was 21, and he was a full on entrepreneur. He had the first Volkswagen dealerships in the 60s in Northern California. So he did many, many different investments and ventures. And on my mom's side was sort of similar. So it was in my blood. And when he died, I was sort of, I don't know, I felt like a leaf in the wind out there for the first 10 years. And I took a bunch of jobs, and I just felt out of place. Like it wasn't working for me. And I cried a lot. I remember calling my mom and crying a lot about like, what's wrong with me? Um, and I wish to reference my dad, I wish he had been alive at that time, because he might have told me, like, it might not just be in your blood to work with other people. But so I don't know, what that is. But when I got my recruiting business, I realized I was like, oh my God, I was just an ugly duckling. Like that, I was just in the wrong place. And because owning my own business felt like breathing. And I
Yeah.
have found there's two kinds of people: the ones like us that feel like, okay, now I feel normal, like feels right, and I'm calm and everything is good, and even the bad days are better than the best day
Yeah.
working for somebody else. Or there's people like, and I know them, and I'm sure you know them, that they would never, they're terrified and horrified to work for themselves. So I don't know if it's a mindset or just maybe personality, but for me, I was made for it. I am
Values
pretty,
and motivators. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I was made for it too, for sure.
You're so good at it, and you juggle so many balls. I don't know how you do it.
Sometimes I don't either.
Yeah.
So, what's one thing you wish you had known when you first started your business, or if you were starting your business today, is there something maybe you would have done differently?
No, I don't think so. I just had to go through it because I knew so very little. I just started. One thing I'm glad I didn't do, I'm glad I didn't borrow a bunch of money.
Hmm. Okay.
And, that would have been a big stress for me to, like, try to get a loan. I did everything on my own and just tried to manage things really carefully. And I came up with a formula for just always having things in such a way that I was never gonna. I didn't want to lose sleep.
Right.
Now, if I have I get angry clients every once in a while, like everybody else, and I hate that. I take it personally. It's even after all these years because we try so hard, but sometimes that's just how it works.
Right.
And competitors. It used to be, I think, at least my feeling, and I could be a little ignorant here, Laura. My feeling was we had this very altruistic, helping, supportive business, and now, at least online, there's a lot of shenanigans and rumblings of things that maybe aren't exactly ethical, or a lot of pop-up resume companies that just buy thousands of dollars of Google ads and just try to drive business to their site. And that those changes that I have seen, I guess, over the last 10 years have been sad for me, because I see this as a business where you help people, you change people's lives. And I guess I was just a little ignorant. Like, my feeling is that, well, if you're going to get into a business like that, it's probably because you're an empathetic, good person that cares about helping people. So it was a little hard for me to swallow, I don't know, hearing all the scuttlebutt and things like that. But so I think, it's in an unregulated industry where one or two bad companies can you decimate, like, our reputation in
Hmm.
general, or really like taint it, that we all have a responsibility to operate honorably and ethically, to whatever degree that you're honorable and ethical, whether that's getting educated or doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Just be a good person. That I think I said in my notes, like, what do you want, how do you want people to think about you? I mean, I don't want to be just I'm sorry to say, an asshole that made a bunch of money.
Right.
That does not appeal to me at all. I would be miserable. So what, sorry to swear, but what are your core values, and how strongly do you feel about them? And when we help other people, it goes a long way. When we take the time to educate ourselves and be the best we can be, it helps everybody. At least that's how I look at it. And I realize I'm a little bit of an idealist, but that's how I feel.
No, I agree. I mean, I feel I wouldn't have switched from my very, very successful resume writing and coaching business to run career directors if I hadn't have thought that, I could help even more people be more, be successful, who are in turn going to help a whole bunch of job seekers. I've always felt that and said that I thought this was an industry where with a soul, where we could make an amazing difference while also making a fantastic living. I mean,
Mhm.
it's should be a win-win. You help your clients go out there and be successful, you're successful. But just like you wouldn't want them to lie on their resume, you wouldn't lie, cheat, or steal in what you do. But what I think is interesting is the when you and I started, um, there wasn't all this. I mean, yeah, you could go to the bookstore and get a book on resume writing and whatnot, but there's so much free stuff on the internet now.
Mhm.
And younger generations they're not joiners, they're not, they're for the most part not of the same mentality. And so there's all those people out there with this fast food mentality about resume writing, which is it's scary, yeah. And there's a bunch of us trying to hold down the fort and hold an exceptional level, which I feel really is what a job seeker needs. And I try to point out to people at every turn that you don't have to be as good as, say, Mary Elizabeth or me at these services, but you have to know that your clients will be competing against that, because those jobs are out there for everybody to apply for. But here's the interesting thing, and it saddens me immensely. I've always felt like, oh, it's an unregulated industry, so we are called to hold ourselves to a higher standard, and not everybody is going to do that. But the more I'm alive and the more people I talk to, the more I realize that these shenanigans go on in regulated industries too.
Mhm.
Got, slimy types who do the bare minimum. You know, it's like, oh, you have to get CEUs. Yes, but there's the difference then between the individuals who get the bare minimum easiest CEUs
Mm-hmm.
and the value added next gen, really learning and increasing themselves. It's, you know, I've worked with doctors who were bare minimum people. You know what I mean? And it's a shame, but that's like you said. Some people are wired to be entrepreneurs, and some aren't. Some people are wired to bring the best, and others are wired to do as little as possible. And I'm always going to err on the be the best side because, like you said, you can sleep well at night. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Because I don't work with the younger generation, I'm a little bit insulated from some of these things that you're referencing, and I don't know. Um, I would only think that at some point, we like things correct themselves. And I think that even if we're in a culture that's kind of a disposable culture, hey, I can lift this off so and so's website and who the heck cares, we still suffer the same consequences to a certain degree, even if we're operating without a conscience. It catches up with us, or
Yes.
at some point.
Karma is real.
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, you call it. I just think that so ultimately, at the end of the day, it would the same. I would think the same wisdom would, or the same thoughts would apply. Like you do it for yourself. The same way we're doing things to cut corners, we're also going the extra mile for ourselves, so we can as we grow and we mature and try to do the best that we can do. I mean, the things I'm most proud of are the things that I have failed at. Really, like the years that did not go well, the way I handled very grisly situations, and I've come up against a couple weird ones, or maybe more than two, after all this time. And every time it happened, I thought, oh my God, I don't think I can handle this. And after I handled it, I went, there's another arrow in my quiver. Like there's another thing that I can say. It's not my first rodeo.
Right.
And those things are just experience. And my team, I had a big learning curve with managing. I'm a very reluctant leader and manager, but I had to learn how to do both. So on the leader side, I went and got leadership certifications and started taking a bunch of tests myself and trying to figure out where my holes were, maybe ones that I didn't see, so I could start trying to at least fill them. Maybe I'll never get there, but I can at least try. And then on the team side, I had to learn how to draw better boundaries. And I really started valuing my like it kind of became part of our criteria. Like we're not going to manage you. You got to get stuff on time. You've got to take the initiative to figure some stuff out. And I mean, we're always like, we're very communal, where we have a shared software, so we talk to each other. But uh but just people with that took responsibility and went to uh took went the extra mile, as if just taking full agency of their effort. And those, I mean, I have people, multiple team members that have been with me over 12 years, if you can believe that. Like we're all we found each other, and which allows us to be really smooth and really tight how we work. But that's really just those basics too. Just be on time, do your best. Double checking your work. I can be bad at that. I'm not an English major. I'm a marketer. I had to learn that part, and I'm always learning. I don't know it all. I mean, obviously, but we're always learning. I mean, once we think we know it all, well, I guess there's nothing more to know, and then you know things go downhill from there.
Yeah. We're always learning. Yeah. Yeah. Think you're done, you're not, right?
Yeah.
All right. Any other advice for somebody considering a career in this field or struggling in their business right now?
Can you be more specific? Like, does anybody have any questions we might be able to answer? Or
No, this chat is incredibly quiet today.
quite
I was just going to ask if
okay.
anybody has something. Now is the time
Okay.
to share it.
Well, there are so many beautiful things now on YouTube in terms of leadership coaches and business coaches, just setting basic goals for yourself and trying to figure out how to get there. So we have the goal and then we reverse engineer it. Um, and, hopefully there's going to be a margin uh, of colleagues out there that really want to be subject matter experts and niching, as I've mentioned before, which I did with my business and it turned out very well for me, is a very good idea to do. So if you just want to write, I don't know, CTO and CIO resume, or I should say, if you just want to write technology resumes or a particular type of technology or aviation, or you want to write resumes for teachers or just for university people in academia, when you figure out what, like some of my writers, they love manufacturing, others love healthcare, others love high finance, and so once you kind of figure out like what you enjoy the most, if you this is my personal opinion, that if you focus on a niche, you can reverse engineer your marketing to be much more targeted, much less expensive, and much more effective because those people know other people in aviation or whatever it is, and so your referral rate, if you do a good job, will be much higher. So I see it as a direct way to actually make your business flow smoother and easier and make more money.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I am all for niching.
Mhm.
All right. Any last thoughts before we close this interview?
Just it has felt great to see you again. We don't get to see each other in person as much as we just talk on the phone, but I am very grateful and very humbled. This business for me has been one of my life's greatest achievements. It's my baby. I'm very serious about helping people and helping and giving back to our community of career coaches and resume writers, and I'm just really honored, really, to be here. I never would have thought that it would have, you know, done what it's done, and I'm very grateful. And really, I mean, not to get all sappy or anything, but without CDI, I'm not kidding. I don't think I could have done it. Maybe I would have figured out another way, but it was the easiest way. It was a way to make sure that I wasn't blowing up my own work, like, oh, I'm so great, like,
Yeah.
because when you have things like the Tories, there's accountability there, and you can't really mess around. So that has been tremendous. And your coaching, your private coaching, and we only had one or two sessions, right? Or two or three. I mean, it wasn't a lot.
We had 3 or 6. I really don't. I'd have to go back and look.
I don't remember. Well, it could have been three or six. But yeah. So it wasn't a lot. It wasn't. You didn't take a year or even 6 months to like flesh all this out. It can happen very quickly.
Yeah, most of my client testimonials come from something that happened the very first, yeah, the very first session.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Yeah, I don't know whether it was 3 or 6. I don't have, because I can't remember when I switched to, because for some people 3 wasn't enough, but their mentality was because I offered it in groups of 3
Yeah.
that that was all they needed. And I would be heartbroken because I could see all these other places we needed to get traction. So somewhere in there, I switched it to only doing 6. And
Ah,
that has really been a sweet spot for a lot of people to hit a lot of goals and achievements.
Well, you are a very effective coach, and I really didn't have to go very deep into it for you to really nail it and give me some very, very, very valuable advice that's really changed the course of my entire business. So, obviously, I'm a big fan, but that's the 100% truth. I mean, that's what happened, and of course, I had to make it happen, but I was willing to do that, put in the work, and listen to you. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, so that and I think that's a good point to maybe end with is I have a lot of mentors and advisors. Um, I'm confident in my decision making process, but I value very much the people around me and their feedback, and even my team. I will just ask them random things like, "What do you think of this logo?" Or I mean, I really like to have that input to make sure that I'm seeing things clearly.
Right, right. Oh, absolutely. I've
Yeah.
had enough ideas over the years that I thought were amazing and brought them to like a forum and been like, all right, back to the drawing board on that one.
And in the beginning, when I didn't know anybody, I found two people in particular. I won't mention their names, even though they deserve it. Because they're so great. But two people, I literally called up and said, I love what you're doing. Would you mentor me? I mean, I really, that I like begged them. And they both said yes. And one of them, well, both of them entered into business partnerships with me as things evolved. But I just, when you see something you like, go in that direction. Start to nerd out on that, whether it's a resume or it's something somebody's doing. Look at their website, look at their whatever, buy their book. Because even though you can't copy them, you can get inspired by what they're doing and then become the best version of you by virtue of what you're liking. And that, you don't need a business coach to do that. You can do it grassroots. You should probably be doing that too. But yeah, I think that's another pretty valuable thing that I've done that I have not regretted.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, the audience, my guests have been pretty quiet today, but if anybody out there would like to thank Mary Elizabeth for sharing her experiences, tips, advice, and motivation, please drop a comment in the chat. Remember to include your name so we know who we're talking to. Mary Elizabeth, this has been awesome. I've loved connecting with you again and getting you to share with our audience. Now, whether you're watching the replay later or you're here with us live, we are going to be highlighting some of Mary Elizabeth's top tips in our social media channels starting tomorrow. So be sure to watch with those, engage with them, share your experience, thoughts, strategy, whatever, and links to a ton of supporting resources, some of which are free, some of which are members only, but great